The morning of day 21 broke gently over the island, with soft sunbeams and a breeze that danced through the trees. The Green Tribe, still adjusting to the chaos of the merge, arrived at the challenge site to find Jeff grinning mischievously. That usually meant something unhinged was coming soon. Today's reward challenge, Jeff announced, is a Survivor Classic. You will be randomly paired up. Each pair must eat as many fertilized duck embryos as possible in 10 minutes. The pair that eats the most will win a luxury spa day, a hot shower, massage, snacks, and clean clothes. Groans and laughter rippled through the tribe as Jeff drew the pairs. Velma and Tommy were not thrilled to be paired up, but both were determined competitors. Lois and Shego high-fived and immediately put on their game faces. Jerry and him begrudgingly stepped to their station together, neither particularly excited by the challenge. King Boo and Cosmo floated to their station, Boo completely silent, and Cosmo still trying to figure out what a balut is. With everyone bracing themselves, Jeff counted them down, and the challenge began. Velma and Tommy were quiet and efficient. Velma plugged her nose and swallowed fast, while Tommy kept count, encouraging her between bites. Lois and Shego were both fierce competitors, gritting their teeth and pushing through despite their visible disgust. Jerry and him were the most theatrical. Jerry gagged dramatically after every bite while him loudly declared, "I am too refined for this cuisine. This is too sister smelly," but then kept eating anyway. King Boo and Cosmo were the wild cards. Cosmo found the balut oddly delightful, giggling as he crunched into them, while King Boo remained silent and methodical. As the clock ticked down, it became clear that Lois and Shego were crushing it. When Jeff blew the final whistle, they downed an impressive 19 balut, winning the spa reward. The duo gathered their belongings, said their goodbyes, and headed off in the late morning for their reward prize. Lois and Shego were thrilled to be away from camp. At the spa, they reveled in hot showers and the rare luxury of soft robes and snack trays. Though opposites in many ways, the shared experience gave them space to connect. "I know people think I'm cold," Shego said, sipping on coconut water. "But I'm here to win, and I don't apologize for that. I'm glad you and I are finally on the same page, Lois." Lois nodded. "Honestly? Same. We've been underestimated too many times. And now, maybe we don't have to be. Between the two of us, Velma and him, I really think we can run this thing." Strategically, they discussed working together more directly. Both were in flux. Lois was wary after the early game chaos, and Shego saw him as a growing annoyance. They agreed that using each other might be the best shot at the end. "I don't need to like everyone to work with them," Shego said. "I just need someone who wants to shake things up and play hard." Lois nodded, feeling a sense of safety in numbers for the first time all game. She thought for a moment, and pitched a plan. "So Jerry and Tommy are obviously the next two to go. Then Cosmo and Boo, I assume. What do we do at Final Four?" Shego turned her head to Lois slowly, unsure of an exact route. She scrunched up her face while thinking, "Well, I definitely agree Jerry and Tommy are next. But after that we may need to consider cutting out some of our dead weight." Lois's eyebrows raised. "Oh, what were you thinking?" Shego continued on. "I straight up don't trust him to be loyal all the way through. I mean, you've seen how he gets. One minute he's sister strong and the next he's causing chaos just for his own enjoyment. And don't even get me started on the whole sister thing. Like, dude, read the room. No one cares about the alliance name but you. And the nicknames, I mean, give me a break. Sometimes they make me want to sister slam my head into a wall." Lois nodded sympathetically as Shego popped off, but internally she was giddy. The more players disliked each other, the more room she had to play strategically. Shego continued, "I'm just gonna say it, Lois. I don't like him. At the start he was fun, but now it feels like round by round he's tanking my game. I'll keep him around as long as it makes sense, but I don't trust him. He can't be in our long-term plans." As Shego finished her rant, Lois took a final sip of her orange juice as the boat came to pick them up to return to camp. The spa was rewarding in more than one way. While it was a lovely place to relax and refresh, for Lois and Shego it was also a place to lock in plans. Meanwhile, camp without Lois and Shego was quiet, but tense. Velma and Tommy, fresh off their challenge pairing, briefly bonded over their shared love of competitions. Both knew they were on opposing sides during Chica's blindside, but working together again during the challenge reignited a spark and reminded them of their previous alliance. They found themselves alone on the beach, and Tommy broke the silence. "That challenge was hard, but it was fun to play with you. I miss being friends, Velma," he sighed. Velma cleared her throat, unprepared to feel any type of emotion about a silly reward challenge. "Aw, Tommy, that was nice. And we are friends, just not allies. Maybe we can come up with something and work together after all. We would need to get Jerry back on board." Tommy jumped in excitedly. You and me and Jerry and maybe even Cosmo. Velma was skeptical of Cosmo's loyalty, but intrigued. She didn't know where Jerry's head was at after the last vote. It seemed like a long shot, but possibly one worth taking. Meanwhile, Jerry and him were at each other's throats again. You threw the challenge, Jerry snapped. You ate like 3 balut and spent the rest of the time whining about wanting gourmet. It's no wonder you had to search for new allies. Your old ones probably self-voted. Him dramatically flailed a hand. My dear, I am a creature of elegance. Duck embryos are simply not cuisine. And how very humorous of you to discuss numbers, considering you currently have, wait, let me look around, none. You have none? So perhaps drop the attitude and get started on some skincare. You need it. Their bickering turned into shouting, and King Boo couldn't help but laugh from the shelter. Velma returned to camp upon hearing the commotion, and immediately jumped in between them. Enough, she said flatly. We need to relax a bit, guys. Meanwhile, Cosmo was off in the jungle, giggling about the balut and singing about how they tasted like squishy omelets. He floated between branches, swinging along and enjoying the island breeze. He returned to camp oblivious and wondering why everyone looked so irritated. The sound of a boat in the distance sparked everyone's attention. Looks like they're back from the reward, Velma said, trying to sound excited for the evening ahead. When Lois and Shego returned from the spa, freshly washed and glowing, heads turned. Cosmo clapped and cheered excitedly, announcing the spa mamas were back. The optics alone shook the tribe. 2 of the game's players, both in the majority last vote, now looked and acted like powerhouses. Velma noticed it instantly. They're closer than before, she whispered to him. I don't like this. If they pull Boo in, we're suddenly on the bottom of the alliance. Him interjected in an angry whisper. You mean the Sister Squad, Velma? We have a name. But yes, I'm inclined to agree. Sister Shego and Sister Stay-at-Home Mom are looking Sister Suspicious. And that is Sister Scary. Shall we go be nosy? The 2 put on their happy faces, and hugged Shego and Lois as they joined the group near the shelter. Him was especially pleased to smell the minty shampoo scent coming off of Shego's hair, jokingly calling her sister smelly. Jerry and Tommy, however, kept their distance. While some conversations through the afternoon gave hope, the 2 knew they still had a lot of work to do to get out of the minority position. And Shego and Lois going on the reward just rubbed salt in the wound. Cosmo greeted them enthusiastically. King Boo gave Shego an over-the-top bow. That evening, as the tribe prepared dinner and the fire crackled, alliances were shifting beneath the surface. Velma felt herself losing grip on the center. Tommy knew he had to act soon. Jerry was nursing his frustration. Him was unpredictable. Cosmo was a wild card. As the group ate dinner in silence, Him's cogs were turning. If Lois and Shego were to become the new power duo, where did that leave him? Him pulled aside Jerry and Tommy to pitch an idea. So, boys, I know our history isn't great, and I know neither of you are sisters, but I think we're all in a bit of a tricky position. The 2 of you are next on the sister schedule to pick off, but then after that, it's my neck on the chopping block. And while I am a sister through and through, Cosmo isn't, and neither is King Boo. He was only added out of convenience and never talks to us anyway. It benefits me, and the 2 of you, to take one of them out next. We just need 1 or 2 others with us on that. Thoughts? As Him spoke, Tommy drew with his finger in the sand. He definitely didn't trust him, but what other choice did they have? Velma was showing signs of flexibility, but even with Velma that was only 3. At least Him made a 4. Jerry, however, was less enthused. Him, why would we trust you? You've been flaunting being opposed to us for days now, and you just voted out one of my allies. It just seems a bit convenient that you've suddenly had this change of heart. We'll talk after the challenge tomorrow and see if this is something you really want to do, or just some kind of a sister squad stunt. Him sighed, and winked at them both. I understand. Him tried not to get angry, but gritted his teeth. I know I've taken out your dearest chica, but who doesn't love an enemies to lovers storyline? Just think on it, boys. I'm here if you want to make a move. Him skipped away, humming a chirpy tune. Jerry and Tommy looked at each other in disbelief, more confused than before the conversation started. Meanwhile in the jungle, Velma caught up with Shego and Lois while they talked about the reward. Conversation quickly turned to strategy, and who they would vote out tomorrow night. Shego stated plainly, it's Jerry or Tommy, right? Easy choice. We just decide as a collective after the challenge. Easy. King Boo appeared, seemingly out of nowhere. Works for me, sister, he said with a lot of sass. The group laughed at the unexpected imitation of him. Back at camp, Cosmo was alone, seeing how high he could toss a coconut. He didn't notice Tommy and Jerry returning to camp, and a coconut landed on Jerry's foot, eliciting a yelp followed by laughter. The commotion made everyone else run back to camp to see if everything was okay. Jerry and Cosmo dramatically reenacted the event for all, leading to group laughter and genuine camaraderie for the first time in a while. While day 21 started with a disgusting competition, it ended with the final 8 bonding and appreciating their journey as they cuddles up together in the shelter. But in the game of Survivor, comfort in others rarely lasts long. The morning of day 22 dawned cooler than most, with a gentle breeze whispering through the palm trees. After a turbulent few days of shifting alliances and emotional roller coasters, the final 8 of the merged Green Tribe arrived at the challenge site with a mixture of nervous anticipation and quiet determination. Jeff stood by a series of large plexiglass grates submerged just below the waterline, the tide gently lapping around them. "Welcome to your next individual immunity challenge," he announced. Called the last gasp. The players looked down at the floating structures with wary recognition. "In this challenge, you'll each take a position under one of these grates. As the tide rises, the space to breathe shrinks. All you can do is lie there, holding steady, and wait it out. The last person remaining under their grate wins individual immunity and a guaranteed spot in the final 7. Let's get started." The challenge began. Each castaway slid under their grate, eyes closed or fixed upward, focusing on their breath. The sun drifted higher, and the tide began its slow, relentless rise. Velma, still fresh off her previous immunity win, lay calmly under her grate, breathing in steady intervals. Cosmo, surprisingly serene, hummed to himself softly underwater, his chaotic mind seemingly calmed by the challenge's simplicity. Jerry kept his eyes closed, conserving energy. Lois and Shego, both competitive and driven, held perfectly still, neither willing budge, both understanding the challenge winner could determine the vote tonight. Him lounged under the grate like it was the reward spot, blowing bubbles playfully until the waterline neared his nose. He kicked his feet slowly, and spat water out like a fountain. A small wave rolled in as he was blowing bubbles, causing him to take in a glug of water. He gagged dramatically, flailed around, dropped out of the challenge, and flounced to the shore with a flourish, becoming the first to sit on the bench. Tommy followed not long after, accidentally inhaling a mouthful of seawater when his attention lapsed. He coughed and shook his head, disappointed in himself. As the tide continued to rise, King Boo was next to slip out. Not needing to breathe in his ghostly form made him the subject of a brief debate before the challenge, but Jeff ruled he had to participate physically within normal parameters. Still, the challenge was not suited to his incorporeal nature, and he respectfully bowed out without protest. Upon hearing King Boo had dropped out, Cosmo happily joined him on shore, saying it was no fun to play in a challenge when your royal neighbor has to leave. 4 remained: Velma, Jerry, Lois, and Shego. The minutes dragged on. Bubbles occasionally floated to the surface. A crab scuttled over Jerry's back and he didn't flinch at first. But the crab was more angry than Jerry, and pinched his back. Eventually, Jerry surfaced, shaking with cold, muttering, "I'm not gonna get clawed to death for a necklace." King Boo giggled, saying under his breath, "Look who's even more crabby than normal," earning a laugh from the others on the bench. Lois and Shego stayed locked in, eyes closed, faces barely above water. Velma looked the most tranquil of the 3, but after an hour and 15 minutes, a ripple startled her and she involuntarily flinched upward, breaking the surface. She gasped and smiled wryly. "Good luck," she whispered toward the water as she swam out. It came down to the 2 women who had won the reward challenge yesterday, Lois and Shego. The tribe watched in silence, knowing neither would give up easily. After another 10 minutes, Lois made the tiniest of shifts and let out a breath, then lifted herself up, shaking off seawater and exhaling with a sigh. Shego had won individual immunity. Jeff helped her out and handed her the necklace. She accepted it with a sly smirk. "Safe tonight at Tribal Council," Jeff said. Everyone else, vulnerable. As the players dried off and gathered their things, the mood was subdued. Shego's win had just complicated the game for everyone. Back at the Green Tribe camp, the late afternoon sun filtered softly through the trees. The tribe, damp from the grueling last gasp challenge, returned with weary bodies but active minds. With Shego immune, the rest of the tribe quickly began calculating their next moves. The vote ahead promised to be one of the most pivotal of the game. Jerry, suit jacket draped around his shoulders, took a long look at the fire pit. While he'd been trying to play under the radar since the merge, the stakes were now too high for subtle moves, and his numbers were gone. "Time to get back to business," he muttered under his breath, slipping quietly into the underbrush. Jerry's demeanor shifted. Gone was the chill, goofy uncle figure. In his place emerged Agent Jerry, observant, calculating, and smooth. He watched alliances from afar, eavesdropped on hushed conversations, and started piecing together the intricate social web. His first stop was Velma. "You and I haven't talked much strategy lately," he said, casually tossing a palm frond onto the fire. Velma glanced up. "Because the last time we did, Chica went home." And we're on opposite sides. Did Tommy tell you we talked yesterday? Jerry smiled. He did. I'm sorry for disconnecting from you. I learned from that mistake. You're sharp. I'm sharp. Tommy's sharp. We need each other if we're going to survive this chaos, Velma considered. You're not wrong, but I'm not burning my game to save someone who's going to tank it later. I don't want saving, Jerry said, his voice low. I want options, and I want to work with you. Have you talked to him lately? Velma raised an eyebrow. Talked to him? About what? Jerry cleared his throat before spilling the beans. Him is worried that Lois is replacing him as Shego's partner in crime, and basically says after Tommy and I go, the sister squad will vote him out next. So his pitch to us is to vote King Boo to weaken those numbers. Velma's jaw dropped. He said that. She stood up and put her hands on her hips, clearly angry. Jerry smirked. He did. I assumed you knew. Velma stormed off, clearly upset about this information. Jerry sat smiling as she went back to camp. For Velma, this was a problem. If him was faltering his allegiance, and Lois was leaving her for Shego, where did that leave Velma? On the bottom. And that's a place Velma refused to be. Meanwhile, across camp, King Boo floated behind trees and drifted silently between groups, overhearing just enough to realize his name was being whispered by him. Though he'd stayed relatively quiet, his threat level was secretly high. His two secret hidden immunity idols gave him more power than anyone had realized, and if his name was out tonight, it could be time to show that power. Lois, wrapped in palm fronds, sat under a tree with him and Shego, quietly scheming. She whispered quietly, another immunity for our alliance. Way to go, Shego, him interjected. Reminder ladies, that our alliance has a name. Shego rolled her eyes as Lois continued. So our big decision is, do we go Jerry tonight? Or do we take out Tommy? Maybe we can split the votes. Shego nodded as Lois talked, weighing out the options. I don't think we have the numbers to split. If even one person votes wrong, that split screws us over. And I don't trust Cosmo to vote correctly. I think Velma barged into the conversation with a direct tone. We need to talk. Now, meanwhile Jerry and Tommy reconnected. Jerry started discussing routes they could possibly take to both stay in. So we can go with him's plan to vote King Boo. Or maybe we can try and rally votes on Cosmo. Tommy hesitated. I don't know. Boo's quiet. But if it keeps us safe, it may be worth it. Jerry paused for a moment, and then replied, then maybe we just go for it. All in on King Boo. What are our numbers? Tommy didn't love it, but nodded. Well, I think we have him. And maybe Cosmo. That's 4. Do you think Velma would vote with us? Jerry's smile faded. I don't know, but we have to give it a shot. I'll work on Cosmo, you work on Velma. Deal, Tommy said, more determined than ever. Nearby in the jungle, him could tell Velma was mad about something. What's the problem, Sister Solver? Velma did everything she could to yell and whisper at the same time. Did you tell Jerry you wanted to turn against our alliance? What are you thinking? That's a death sentence, We worked so hard to build this majority for you to go throw it away on a whim? How is this helping you? Him's eyes widened. He'd never seen so much passion from Velma. He liked it. He urged Velma to take some deep breaths before explaining. My sweet, sweet Velma. Of course I told them that. But I was lying to them. Of course I want to misdirect them and throw in a bit of chaos. It's so fun to play with your food before you eat it. I told them to vote for King Boo. That keeps us both out of the firing line and distracts them. I would never dare to flip on my exclusive all-powerful sister squad. It was a lie. Velma was shocked he admitted to it. She felt a little more at ease knowing she wasn't being targeted. She processed the new information for a moment before speaking. Honestly, it's not worth the fight. Let's just do this thing. Who are we voting tonight? Jerry or Tommy? Him smirked. Let me think on it, he sang, twirling a vine in his hand. But I'm feeling particularly judgy today, like someone destined to sit on a throne of snuffed torches and spilled tea. Sorry for the confusion, Velma. Smooches. I can assure you tonight there will be 5 sister squad votes on whoever we decide. With or without my lie to Jerry. She put her head in her hands and walked away. Once out of earshot, him turned to the camera saying only one simple phrase. The thing is, I wasn't lying. It's all about managing the numbers. And the number I don't like right now is King Boo's. Elsewhere, Cosmo lay sprawled on the sand drawing spirals with a stick, seemingly unbothered by the chaos around him. Yet King Boo, who had once dismissed him as mere comic relief, began to wonder if Cosmo's non-threatening act was just that, an act. Cosmo, he said, floating beside him. Who do you think is going tonight? He looked up, eyes wide and blinking. I dunno. I keep hearing Jerry's name. But also yours. But also him. But also Lois. That's almost everyone, King Boo said, dryly. Exactly, Cosmo beamed. That means I'm safe. King Boo shook his head, half amused, half unnerved. Cosmo's cluelessness seemed too well-timed. Was he playing everyone? He made direct eye contact with Cosmo before asking a straightforward question. Cosmo, would you vote for me tonight? Cosmo immediately answered, of course not. We're friends. And we're in a floaty alliance. Floating is fun. King Boo took that as affirmation, and wandered off elsewhere. As twilight settled over camp, a small strat chat formed around the fire. Velma, Jerry, Tommy, and Cosmo. The conversation was light at first, but soon shifted into game talk. If the four of us are together tonight, with him as a secret fifth, we can do this. We can take out Boo, Jerry said bluntly. He's probably going home. Velma didn't flinch. Cosmo stopped the conversation by chasing after a firefly. Him, from across the camp, made eye contact with Jerry and nodded, affirming their plan was in motion. Him was playing both sides, and tonight would show how well. You'd be stupid not to be with us, Jerry said to Velma. And you're not stupid. Velma stepped away to take time and think. Who was lying to who? Where was her loyalty? Her number one Lois had been with Shego all day, so she was no help. What to do? What to do? King Boo giggled from the shelter with his ghostly grin. He spoke quietly to himself. The peasants seemed to be scrambling. Excellent. Tommy looked over and saw King Boo giggling, and spoke, perhaps too loudly. He's got to have one of those idle thingies. He's too happy. The whole camp heard him, and turned to see what Tommy may be talking about. King Boo's smile dropped. Everyone went silent. King Boo broke the tension with sarcasm. So what if I do have something? What's it to you? Then use that to your advantage. Prove it, Jerry said. Lois chimed in. Don't burn it if you don't need to. Work with us instead. King Boo returned her volley. Who's us? No one gave an answer. The sun dipped further in the sky, touching the horizon. As night fell, so did the calm. A storm of uncertainty hovered over the tribe. Lois and Shego sat by the water's edge, feet dipped into the surf. Velma's up to something, Shego said, eyes narrowed. I can feel it, Lois replied. She always is, but I trust her. She is with us, Shego. I feel like I'm the bridge between you. We just have to stay solid. Him is with us. Boo is kind of with us. Cosmo is, well actually I don't know where Cosmo is. We're set on Jerry or Tommy tonight. I don't understand all this panic going around. Shego furled her brow. If Boo has an idol, fine. We keep the numbers that way unless he flips on us. But he has no one else. Lois added on to Shego's thought. Unless him's not with us anymore. Shego snapped her head over to Lois. Surely he's with us still. Sister squad strong, or whatever. This should be an easy 6-2 vote. They sat in silence for a moment, watching a line of crabs scuttle past. In the shelter, Cosmo accidentally bumped into him while practicing cartwheels. You good? Him asked. Cosmo replied happily, yeah. Just doing some light gymnastics. Him laughed. For a moment, camp felt like a sitcom, but underneath it all, the votes were stacking up, and nobody could say for certain who was going home tonight. He amused Cosmo for a moment before making his pitch. So Cosmo, looks like the votes are going on King Boo tonight, and with you we have the majority. You're in right. Cosmo, upside down on his hands, replied with a long thinking noise. After falling out of his handstand, he said he would vote with his heart. Him took that as confirmation they were locked and loaded. If Cosmo voted with them, it would be a 5-3, and if he voted, it would be a 4-3-1. Him patted him on the back, and the tribe began to gather their belongings for tribal. As the torches were lit and packed for tribal, the tension was palpable. Everyone had a name in mind. Some had 2, others had 3. But one thing was certain, someone's game would end tonight, and they'd become the 4th member of the jury. Night settles in over the island as the merged Green Tribe returned to Tribal Council for what promises to be an exciting vote after a day of scrambling. The torches flicker ominously, casting long shadows across tense faces. Jeff welcomes them and reminds everyone of the stakes. Tonight, one more will be voted out and will become the 4th member of the jury, joining Muriel, Tigger, and Chica, who sat off to the side listening in. But for one, there's nothing to fear. Shego, adorned with the individual immunity necklace, sits confidently, arms crossed, practically glowing in her invincibility. Jeff commends her on the win, then turns to the rest of the tribe. Shego smiled gleefully. Thanks Jeff. Let's not do that challenge ever again. Happy to have the necklace. Not happy about the challenge or the lead up to this vote. Today was a mess, Jeff replied. Sounds like tonight's vote could shift the game, and with only 8 of you left, every decision counts. Velma, any thoughts on tonight? Velma offered her usual calculated observations. Everyone's got a plan until the votes are read. And today I think each of us had about 6 different plans. I'm nervous, Jeff. Tommy tried to downplay his panic, but his gaze kept darting toward the others. He spoke up nervously. I'm scared tonight too, Jeff. Me and Jerry aren't in the sister group thingy. We know we're in trouble. Jerry nodded as Tommy spoke, and added onto his commentary, it's true, we're theoretically on the bottom, but theory can differ from reality. I hope you all just remember you have options. Jerry looked at him and nodded. Lois admits it's hard to know who's telling the truth anymore. There's too much smoke, not enough fire. I'm sticking with the people I trust instead of running around throwing everyone's names out and hoping something sticks. Jeff brings up the elephant in the room, hidden immunity idols. Him shrugs with a wicked grin. I hope someone plays one. It's about to get fun. King Boo snarkily cut in. Apparently I have one. At least according to Tommy. The tribe nervously chuckled. Tommy corrected him. I never said you had one. It's just something to think about. Jerry patted his back. Jeff asked if anyone had anything else to say. Cosmo told a knock-knock joke to ease the tension, and the group gave a sympathetic laugh. Everyone was too anxious to say anything else of importance. The group voted one by one, and Jeff returned with the urn. If anyone has a hidden immunity idol and would like to play it, now would be the time to do so. Pause. King Boo slowly rises. The others watch as he floats forward and pulls a single idol from his satchel. He hands it to Jeff, his voice low and eerie. I've heard a lot of names today, including my own. I think I know where the votes are going tonight, but it'd be a shame to go out when I have such a fun accessory. I'm playing this, for myself. Gasps. A couple of shocked glances are exchanged. Velma's brow tightens. Tommy's jaw tenses. Jeff examines the idol, nods, and confirms, it is real. Any votes cast for King Boo will not count. King Boo drifts back to his seat with a ghostly grin. One idol played. One idol still hidden in his pocket. The tension spikes as Jeff begins pulling parchments from the urn. First vote. King Boo. Does not count. Tommy and Jerry look to each other, clearly alarmed. Second vote. King Boo. Does not count. Boo made a snide comment under his breath. Nice try, Jerry and Tommy. Third vote. King Boo. Does not count. Boo raised an eyebrow, and glanced over at Cosmo, who shook his head no. Cosmo mouthed, wasn't me. Next vote. Tommy. Shego gritted her teeth, hoping no stunts were pulled, but still confused by the third vote for Boo. Next vote. Tommy. That's 2 votes, Tommy. Tommy's eyes welled up with tears. Velma put her head down, saddened by the inevitable. The 11th person voted out of Cartoon Survivor Season 1, and the 4th member of our jury. Tommy. That's 3. Tonight that's enough. Please bring me your torch. Tommy immediately started crying as Jerry hugged him. Velma did what she could to help comfort him, but Tommy had already gotten up to approach Jeff. Tommy, the tribe has spoken. It's time for you to go. He said nothing as he left, his sobbing growing more and more distant as he left the voting area. Jeff turned to the remaining 7. Well, after what sounded like a lot of uncertainty, hopefully tonight's idol play and vote will clear a few things up. In the meantime, head on back to camp. Have a good night. As the players grabbed their things to head out, confusion remained. Who was the third vote for King Boo? Shego asked as they packed. The torches faded and flickered into the distance as the tribe left for camp. The final 7 returned to camp under the cover of night, the fire crackling quietly as everyone settled into an uneasy silence. King Boo moved ahead, the echo of Jeff's voice still fresh in everyone's ears. His idol play had sent shockwaves through the tribe. Tommy's torch had been snuffed, and the power dynamics had shifted yet again. Boo's stoic demeanor only made his silence more ominous, as if he were one step ahead of them all. His secret second idol remained tucked away, and no one suspected he still had another move in his pocket. Once back in camp, Jerry requested the floor. Okay guys, I know I'm not the favorite around here right now, but I just need your attention for a moment and then I'm going to bed. I think there's something you all should know. Heads turned, and eyes perked up to see what Jerry would have to say. He cleared his throat and continued on. Obviously tonight Tommy and I voted for King Boo. Incorrectly at that. Boo, we can talk about that tomorrow, or not. If you even care. I just want to leave you all with this. Him was the third vote for King Boo. It was his idea. He tried to get Velma and Cosmo on board. He's trying to take out the sister squad. Good night. Final 7. Jaws dropped. Him went completely white in the face. Velma and Lois pulled Shego aside quickly before she had time to react. They assured her it could be dealt with tomorrow, but tonight they had to get rest to be ready. As they tried to calm a silently fuming Shego, Velma and Lois whispered in hushed tones near the shelter, trying to re-stabilize their footing now that Boo had shown he was no passive player. Jerry and King Boo laid down in the shelter, and Jerry asked Boo if he wanted to talk about the vote. King Boo reached out and shook Jerry's hand, much to his surprise. The game is the game. You're playing just like I am. I know it wasn't personal. You're fine. Jerry was shocked at how reasonable Boo was being, and turned over to begin his slumber. King Boo rolled over, and rolled his eyes at Jerry under the cover of darkness. He didn't like that Jerry voted for him, but causing a blow-up could only lead to his position worsening. Jerry and Boo slept quietly, unassured in their positioning, but happy to have survived the night. Cosmo joined them and drifted to sleep while singing a song about immunity idols. Him stayed awake all night, trying to mentally prepare to face the wrath of the sister squad tomorrow. For now he was safe, but tomorrow would start a whole new battle. He needed to come up with a plan, and fast. With the game heading into its final stretch, trust was evaporating, and alliances were cracking. The final phase had truly begun.